Hi, everyone, and welcome to Yin Energy Exchanges. This is a series that I've been doing for over a year and a half now, and typically it's on Instagram, but I feel like it's better to do this on a platform like Zoom where I can then upload it to YouTube. So, this is my first Yin Energy Exchange that's actually happening on Zoom. Our guest will be with us shortly, and she's someone that I really, really admire and I've been working with here in New York City. And so I'm excited for her to kind of talk to us about what she does. She's a acupuncturist, and so acupuncture is something that I have had experience with, a lot of success with, and I'm looking forward to bringing someone on that's very skilled in that field of study and field of work. But just so we can kind of go back and to highlight what these yin energy exchanges are, these are conversations with other women that are maybe out and doing business for themselves or extremely passionate about something that they do. I'm bringing them on to talk about what they do and also their astrology and how their astrology chart plays into what they do for a living. So, Kiana will be with us very shortly. And like I said, we will be talking about what she does for a living, which is acupuncture. And then we're going to be talking about her sun, moon, and rising, like we do with every guest that joins, but also we're going to be talking about the part of fortune. And this is a really interesting part of the chart. So I'm looking forward to discussing more about it with Kiana. But overall, I think that this platform, Zoom, is going to be much better for these discussions because I'm going to be able to actually pull up a chart, Kiana's chart, the people that I'm interviewing. So today, Kiana, and show you how I dissect the chart like I would with any type of client. So this would be with a natal birth chart reading, a ruby jade astrology reading. So Kiana is actually in the reading room, and I'm going to go ahead and admit her now. But this is recording and will be uploaded on my YouTube. And I will also just post it on socials, whether it's LinkedIn, Facebook, or even link it in my Instagram stories. Hello, Kiana. I'm gonna let her get settled in before. Oh, I hear the audio. Great. Hi.
Hey,
It's so good to
how are you?
know. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I hope you're enjoying your summer.
Yeah, I mean it's hot, but I am enjoying
Yeah.
it. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Hanging in there, good things, good and new things are happening.
I
So I'm very
know. I know.
Mhm.
A lot of changes, right?
A lot of changes, but good changes, for the
Yes.
better.
Yes,
Yeah.
I slowly introduced you and I said that you're an acupuncturist and that
Yes.
we met in New York City, but
Right.
really quickly, I guess, like, let everyone know, like, the changes that you've had in your life recently where you moved back home and then actually moved to a new location where you're gonna start acupuncture, right?
Yes, correct. So, hi everyone. I'm Kiana, Kiana Smith. So, I am now a licensed acupuncturist in the state of Texas and New York, where I met Kenzie. But I am an acupuncturist here in Houston, looking forward to finding a healing space to work on patients as a practitioner. So, I'm excited for my new journey. I was home for a bit in San Diego just to get things together as far as with license requirements and tests. But now I'm here in Houston, ready to get going and settled. So I'm excited for this new adventure.
That's exciting. So I want to know, Kiana, how old were you when you decided you wanted to do acupuncture or you wanted it to be your life path? Because it's
Yes.
something that's not in the United States, like talked about it as much, maybe over in like Asia or other
Mhm.
parts of the world that kind of welcome it more.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. So I was seeing and experiencing disparities in healthcare, And then this sparked my interest in like complementary medicine, traditional healing methods and practices like acupuncture and herbs. And because this medicine focuses on patient care and humanity
Mhm.
while also addressing every aspect of a person, I learned that it can be used efficiently to help improve well being and quality of life of all types of people of all backgrounds. And so when I was 20 years old, I was taking a holistic health class at San Francisco State in California. And the classes really resonated with me, the Chinese medicine classes in particular. And I was like, I've always been interested in a different way of medicine.
Yeah.
And I've always been interested in these traditional ways of carrying out medicine, like herbs and um, acupuncture, breathwork, meditation. So, what career can I go into that focuses on that and a career that I can practice that? And that's when I came to learn about acupuncture and
Mhm.
it's like, I can do this, why not? And that's how I came to be an acupuncturist.
So 20, you were 20 and
20, yeah,
and now are you like 28, 29?
29 in August.
29 in August. Okay, so
That will learn.
it's almost been 9 years, so it hasn't been a short journey or trajectory to get to this spot.
No, it hasn't. So I graduated acupuncture school in December 2020 from Pacific College of Health and Science in New York. But
Mhm.
before that, I was studying kinesiology or exercise science and hoping to get into physical therapy or sports training at San
Right.
Francisco State during undergrad. And then I took holistic health as a minor, and that's when I decided, oh, like I want to do this instead. I want to go into medicine, but I want to do this type of medicine instead.
Yeah,
So yeah.
so it sounds like you were going down the path like physical therapy and things like that. So that's what you were thinking about doing before acupuncture, right?
Yes.
Okay. Which is so traditional. I feel like, you either here in America, you either a doctor, a nurse, physical therapist, like physician assistant, whatever. I mean, you have a lot of different avenues you can go down, but it's all that like it's all the medicine that I guess we would you call it Western medicine, where it's like more of like pharmaceutical
Correct. Yeah,
react.
I would say more of that traditional Western medicine um, aspect or
Isn't it more like reactionary too? It's like we're reacting to something that's happened already. So like when you go to a doctor and like let's say you have like something that you need to go get checked, it's like you're showing them like something that maybe has appeared on your body and you're like, well, what do we do for treatment? Whereas
Mhm.
like acupuncture is more taking into account like preventative measures.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say definitely that what we've grown to learn or what we grew up within this Western society is Western medicine, which is in a way reactive, but I think they're graduating into more of an integrative medicine,
Yeah.
including Eastern medicine, which is more a preventative type.
Yeah, I like recently was just on the phone with my mom today, and we were talking a lot about just in general, like the interaction you have with doctors today in United States, where it's very like at times I feel like if you're meeting with the doctor or you're a little fearful, maybe sometimes that the doctor can kind of pick up on that and is like kind of
Mhm.
feeding into the fear and is like, oh, if you feel like you need to go get this test, we really recommend you do it because there's a chance that this could come up. And so there's like this, you could go to the doctor for like one thing and then all of a sudden you're coming out of the doctor and they're having you go do all these different tests and maybe it's really not necessary, but because there's this fear of like now it's I feel like what's seeped into like the medicine world is like this fear of being in litigation or
Mm.
lawsuits or anything like that, where it's
Mhm.
caused doctors to be like, "Okay, I'm gonna have them go do this, this, and this," when in reality, it's probably none of those things, but I'm gonna do it just in case I don't run into, like, a lawsuit in long
Yeah.
in the, like, later days, which is so sad because it's like, at the end of the day, I think now it's not really about what's the best thing for the patient, it's what's the best thing to protect me as a doctor.
Yeah. As the practitioner, you're right. And I appreciate you sharing that because that reminded me of when I first started treating you. I remember you mentioning that you felt like you weren't being heard or your concerns weren't being dealt with. And
Exactly.
I think yeah, and I think it's interesting that you did learn to come in and seek acupuncture or Eastern medicine as a way to address your concerns and to be listened to or heard as well.
Yes, I mean, I've had many instances, not just with like, with most doctors that in the Western, like, you go and you see a as a woman, you see a gynecologist, or you go to your
Mhm.
family practitioner, or, like, if you got, like, an injury, like, let's say on your ankle, you might go to, like, a podiatrist. But, like, all the doctors that I have had interactions with, it's really been like, "Okay, like, let's get you in and out. Let's not have you talk about what's really going on." And I felt like there was no room to share my story because it was
Uh-huh.
just like such a business and trying to get people in and out the door. And so
Yeah.
I felt like it wasn't even really about me as a patient anymore. It was me about squeezing me in kind of like a number and getting that hitting that quota. But then
Mhm.
in general, I feel like I was the type of person that I am conscientious and I'm wanting to share my story, and they looked at that as like, "Oh, this person is kind of maybe a hypochondriac, she's thinking too much of this or that, so we're gonna have her do all these things that we don't really need to do, but then we wanna do it just to kinda cover our our
Bases.
yeah, cover our
Yeah.
bases, make sure that we're not missing anything, and that if this person were to come back and say, "Oh, this happened because of this." Whereas when you go to, like when I came to acupuncture, I felt like the first experience I had was all about kinda explaining what was going on and having the practitioner listen and
Mhm.
form speculation after just describing the certain scenarios, which I think is so nice because a lot of people are not used to having that much time with a practitioner, like,
Yeah.
anymore. It used to be like that from what I've
Mhm.
heard, but it's not like that anymore. And so
Yeah.
that bedside manner, that element of care has totally, like, disappeared, I almost feel like.
Uh-huh. I can agree with you, and I know you're not alone in your experiences as well because I have patients in similar circumstances who they went to a Western practitioner and they felt like they weren't being heard or listened to. It was a rushed experience. And I'm not hating on Western medicine at all because I love Western medicine. I am all for it.
Yeah,
But it's more of creating an integration of the two to heal a person in their entirety.
right. So when you were going through, like, physical therapy, like, the schooling for physical therapy, were there any subjects that I think you touched on this really briefly, but could you elaborate a little bit more on the subjects that you were really drawn to and, like, the
Mhm.
main components of those, just for the average person to, like, know to summarize, to know what exactly you were learning?
Oh, yes, of course. So in high school, I was fortunate enough to have the experience of taking classes like anatomy, sports medicine. I was afforded that opportunity. And that's what drew me into okay, I want to go into physical therapy for undergrad. So we took courses like biology, chemistry, exercise science courses that determined and looked at your gait, and then I was observing under a physical therapist at an orthopedic clinic as well. And what I came to learn that the industry is very competitive, especially in California. and there's not enough room for everyone who wants to go into that career. Um, and that's why I found myself realizing that I don't think I want it that badly. Like, I want to do a type of medicine that's a bit different, that's a bit more traditional. And so then I decided to minor in holistic health. And that's when I found Chinese medicine and acupuncture in greater detail.
Okay, cool. And then lastly, before we kind of move on, what did you want to do when you grew up? Like when you were growing up, what was like the thing that you wanted to do?
Yeah, yeah. So my fondest memories growing up was being a dolphin trainer because I'm from San Diego. So I had the ocean there. And I grew up going to SeaWorld too. And so my fondest memories or most vivid memories as a kid growing up was wanting to be a dolphin trainer because dolphins were seen as kind and gentle, but also they can be a little vicious. But yeah, that's what I wanted to do.
But in general, taking care of something or someone.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, exactly. Uh-huh.
Okay, okay, cool. Well, I'm gonna ask you more about acupuncture in general because I
Mhm.
feel like, not enough people know about it. People are kind of not confused, but I think people are curious about it. They're just a little like they're unsure about it because it
Yeah.
involves needles, and I think people are like, "Oh, are those needles shared?" And I think there's a lot of like little misconceptions that go on with people that are curious about it but still have not tried it. So I would
Mhm.
love if you could go into a little bit more detail and I'll kind of let you know when to do that. But just keep that in the back of your head that I would love
Yeah.
you to talk more about it because I think that if more people, you know, wanted to do this or tried this, like it would be really beneficial to the collective as a whole in general.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so I'm bringing you on. This is a yin energy exchange. I introduced it briefly, but we're going to talk a little bit about astrology and your sun, moon, and rising. And then today's topic is the part of fortune, which I'll go into more detail. But so what I'm going to do, like I do when I, sorry, I'm looking for the shared screen, but when I like do a client reading, I pull up the person's chart. And so
Uh-huh.
that's why I decided to do this over Zoom. I'm able to share the screen and to show your chart.
Great.
I'm going to do that really quickly, but overall, I'm going to briefly kind of just go over the notes that I took about her chart in general. So
Uh-huh.
Kiana's sun, moon, and rising. She has a sun um, she has a sun in Virgo and it's in the eighth house. She has a moon in Capricorn and then a rising sign in Capricorn. So in general,
Mhm.
you have a lot of earth energy. The
Nice.
Yeah, the sun, the planet of ego, is in this sign of health, Virgo, and it's then in the eighth house, and this is the house that could be related to release, cleansing, renewal, self regeneration, subconscious, deep subconscious mind, the astral plane, which when I was looking at these words, I felt like that really resonated with my experience with acupuncture, where it's this type of time where you really do kind of release a lot of like whatever is kind of weighing you down, whether it's the pain or whatever. So, and then what I thought was interesting is that this was all happening in the eighth house, and then I'm gonna kind of show the chart so I can kind of
Mhm.
be more visual. But
Yeah.
so this is where I'm seeing Kiana's. Do you see it, Kiana?
Yes.
Okay, so your sun is right here, and so that's what I mean. Being in the eighth house, it's here in the eighth house. You see the number eight, so that means
Mhm.
it's in the eighth. This is the sign of Virgo, and this is the symbol for the sun. And so when I was seeing, like once I saw it here, I was like, okay, this makes sense to me. You had to be very intricate with acupuncture. I mean, some of the things that I've learned through Kiana or within where I would go to meet Kiana is very fascinating how, one part of the body might actually align with another part and being very detailed and putting the needle in that part of the body could awaken the senses, the natural painkillers, and I'm gonna have Kiana talk more about that, but you have to be intricate in the movements, I'm assuming, with acupuncture. You have to learn that way to, like, be very delicate with the body, and
Yeah.
Virgo is really good about being, intricate. So to see that there, to see it, like that's your core identity is the sun is attached to our core identity and our ego. And then with the eighth house is like dealing with other people's like deep subconscious things. So maybe sometimes people are coming to acupuncture for, let's say, depression or anxiety. And so having to like navigate that is a part of your like your being today and why you
Mm,
kind of are wanting to do in this life.
yeah.
And so then what I saw is over here is this Capricorn energy. You have both your Capricorn rising and a Capricorn moon. The rising is here. It divides the chart 12 and 1. The house is 12 and 1 horizontally. So your ascendant is starting at 8 degrees Capricorn, and then your moon is not that far behind the ascendant. It's 17 degrees Capricorn. So both of them are in this sign that's very hardworking, professionalism, um, having a career that does have status, which I feel like whether you're in Eastern or Western medicine, you have a sense of status that people come to you where they're coming to you maybe in vulnerable times, and they have to really trust in someone that's going to guide them and be a leader. And so you're
Mhm.
doing that just with your, first impressions with the rising sign, but also your moon sign deep down, you like to work hard, you like to feel of importance, and I feel like you're doing that with this, path that you've chosen.
Mhm.
And then we're going to talk about the part of fortune, which is just down here, and it's this symbol. It's a mathematical point in the sky. It's a circle with an X in it, and yours is in the sign of Taurus. And I'm going to go a little bit deeper into that. But before I do that, I'm going to stop the share and really quickly just what I talked about with the sun, moon, and rising. So the sun in Virgo working in this eighth house with maybe release, and letting go of things, which I think in acupuncture, that's a huge thing, is
Yeah.
being able to kind of let go and trust the person with these needles that it's
Yes.
gonna be okay, and that, yes, there might be a moment of pain, but eventually that pain releases as the appointment goes on. The deep subconscious, like working with just like maybe a lot of emotional turmoil and letting acupuncture kind of clear that. But then also the moon and the rising and that being in that position of power and status and using it in a way where you're obviously wanting to help people be a leader, and things of that nature. Do you feel like that resonates with you and comes up with the work that you're doing now?
Oh, absolutely. Like this is spot on. I would say definitely in terms of being a leader, as far as that's what my parents taught me and my sister, to always be a leader, not a follower. And as far as with getting into the details and having to know details, I am the typical Virgo who's like a perfectionist who has to double, triple check something. And so that resonates with me a lot.
Yes.
Aspect of being detail oriented and being sure of yourself, having the confidence to make others feel comfortable within your space. Because ultimately, in order for those to heal, they have to be comfortable with who they're paired up with, as far as with the practitioner.
Mhm.
Because I'm only I only carry out the treatment, but your body can ultimately heal itself.
Yes, and I love that you say that because, like, trusting in the body, I feel like is a concept that we've grown farther and farther away from, like, trusting immunity and, like, someone's, like, someone's a natural ability to fight off something or to heal itself. And I guess this is a great time to kind of touch on just acupuncture and what it does. I guess,
Mhm.
like, you could go more into it right now because it is a very detail-oriented thing, and maybe you could start off, like, how, you have to be detail-oriented in acupuncture, going into that and explaining what it does and explaining how it heals would be really great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now
Thank you.
yeah.
So, acupuncture is a system of medicine that originated in China about 2,000 years ago. And it's been historically used with acupuncture and herbs together to help heal and treat a variety of symptoms related to different types of diseases or conditions. And so in modern times, we use acupuncture to treat a wide range of conditions. And there's been a ton of randomized controlled trials that show the effectiveness of over 100 different conditions that acupuncture and herbs in combination can treat. And so, with acupuncture, we're stimulating points that interact with the connective tissue of the body. So, this has been shown to alter our brain chemistry, promote balance and healing. For example, if a patient's coming in for stress, I'm looking to do points that help with lowering cortisol, our stress hormone, increase serotonin, dopamine, our happy hormones. If someone is coming in for insomnia or difficulty sleeping, I look at points that have been shown to increase your body's natural production of melatonin. If someone's coming in for pain, I look at points that help increase your body's natural production of endorphins or natural painkillers. We may do some local points in the areas of pain to help increase circulation of blood and oxygen for further muscle recovery and healing as well.
That's that's so true, and I feel like,
Mhm.
I came to you for a couple different things, but especially with my ankle, I had, like I believe that I think what happened was I sprained my ankle a long time ago and never let it heal properly,
Mhm.
and so when, like, I went to you, I felt like you were the first person that really wanted to, like, learn more about just the injury, but, like, how my maybe foot has adapted since the injury, and
Mhm.
we went to certain points on the foot and around the ankle that I feel like were very overlooked when I would go to a podiatrist. When I went to a podiatrist, they were like, "Oh, well, you kinda have, like, a genetic disorder where your arch is really high and it's causing your toes to kind of, clench a little bit more than, like, let's say your right foot. And there's really nothing we could do. You could put Dr. Scholl's in your feet." And I was like, I don't really think that that's it though. Like, I think that
Mhm.
we can go a step further. I think that actually these phalanges in my toes, I guess I'll call them phalanges in my toes, I feel like they can be stretched out, and that's gonna be less painful for me because I kept experiencing pain in my foot, like, to this point where I was like, I mean, I'm in my 20s, I shouldn't have to feel this, like, every single day.
Yeah.
So when I came to you and explained it and then started to do the treatments, I felt like there was all this, like, release of pain, like, it started off, like, gradually, and then really it really helped with where I mean, it happens when I don't have enough sleep, I'll feel
Oh,
that same pain, but then on the regular basis, I don't have it anymore because we took the time to work on it and to kind of release some of the things where I feel like I do believe that my body was able to heal because it was like pulling back an onion and, like, kind of, like, being like, "Okay, we're gonna work on this part of the foot, then this part," and now there's certain things that just don't hurt anymore, and I think
that's
it's
amazing.
Yeah, it's just incredible, like, where I think a lot of people believe that, "Oh, I'm gonna have to live with pain my whole life because I had this injury," and it's like, if I would've just put the Dr. Scholl's, like, I mean, I guess that would've helped, but, like, I'm so happy that I wanted to go deeper into the root of things and try to, like,
Yeah.
really uncover, like, what it was.
Yes, and acupuncture is all about helping us treat the root, not only the branch of a condition or a disease.
Right.
And I appreciate you mentioning your experience because I think it also shows that you were willing to put the work into treating as well, treating yourself. Because acupuncture isn't just a one time thing, it's something that you have to do weekly for a certain amount of weeks to
Mhm.
really experience the effects. And you were also incorporating some patient education that I recommended, and you were also seeking other types of therapies as well in combination with acupuncture to truly help your case, which I appreciate.
Yeah,
And I appreciate your openness too to the medicine because I think that helps me as a practitioner in terms of using my intuition to figure out what I can do to help you heal.
and it's
So,
funny because I'm very open to, like, practitioners, like, for instance, like an acupuncturist like yourself. But when it comes to, like, the Western medicine, I'm very closed off. So it's just so interesting that I'm able to kind of be like, "Okay, I'm showing up. I'm a patient. I'm not in control anymore. Kiana's gonna be in control, but I trust her
mhm.
wholeheartedly."
Yeah.
And
That
I
means a lot. That means a
yeah,
lot. It
but
really does.
I feel like it's because, like, I got to the point with you especially, and it's happened with other acupuncturists, like one other,
Mhm.
where I've gotten to the point of healing, going and being like, "This I need this to get healed," and it was healing, and it was like, no, not going back to the same point of, like, pain, which
Mhm.
I don't know, I think that I liked that it was, like, a cooperation between the 2 of us, and I felt
Me
like
too.
yeah.
Yeah.
But just in general, like, I like how you talked about how this requires maybe maintenance. So, like, coming in multiple times. And I think a lot of people have now been so used to, like, I'm not also like, I think Western medicine, there's a time and a place and it's needed.
Right.
But I think nowadays, when people do have something, they wanna go to the doctor and they wanna get the magic pill and they want it to go away in one visit.
Mhm.
And I knew that, like, going with just having some of these aches and pains for as long as I did, I was like, "I know this is not gonna take it's gonna take longer than 1 session." So I was, like, up for the challenge, and I was up for spending the money and getting myself in a situation where I was like, "I don't wanna feel this pain anymore." But why is it that a patient has to be accustomed to that and that you had to, like, kinda work with your acupuncturist consecutively? Is there a reason for that?
Yeah. So with acupuncture and Chinese medicine, the treatments build upon each other. And that is a way we can stay on top of patients' particular symptoms and manage them. So Chinese medicine is a very individualized medicine. So it's different for every person. But typically, if someone is coming in for pain, especially if it's acute type of pain, then I recommend at least once a week for 3 or 4 weeks, because that's a way we can stay on top of the patient's symptoms. And then at that point, we can reevaluate from there as far as maintenance, maybe twice a month, or prevention once a month long term.
Okay.
But I think it's important to mention that acupuncture and Chinese medicine is a preventative medicine. So it's something you should try to stick with, maybe once a month, maybe once every 6 months, that sort of thing.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
before we move forward, like, with COVID, that was kinda like when we met each other, like, around that time. Were you seeing patients coming in to, like, boost their immunity,
Oh,
or people kind of, like, thinking, "Hey, this might be a good idea because maybe, like, for instance, I had lost my job, I didn't have healthcare. So for
Mhm.
me, I was like, I'm gonna do acupuncture once a month to kind of stay on track, which is what I did, and I actually never got sick that year.
Amazing. Knock on wood. Amazing. I would say absolutely. And when acupuncturists were seen as essential workers, we were able to get back into the clinic. But before then, with Chinese medicine, we can treat using herbs. So there's plenty of herbs and formulas that help boost someone's immune system. And acupuncturists were getting into telehealth. So they were treating patients through Zoom or other sorts of FaceTime to help patients get through that time or that period when we did need to strengthen our immune systems,
Right.
especially living in New York.
I know.
And through that telehealth, we were able to use herbal medicine as a way of healing for patients.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so I am going to now talk about this part of fortune, which I found really interesting on your chart, and that's kind of the reason why I felt like I picked this element, planetary transit, point in the sky for you today because of just like where it's at. So you have,
Cool.
yeah, you have a part of fortune in Taurus, another earth sign, really working with what we have here on earth. All earth signs are very interested in things on earth, feeling stable, grounded. And so you have a lot of earth energy in your chart. So working with the body, I think, is very natural for you. But like when a part of fortune shows up, it points to um, combining your sun, moon, and rising sign and really using the best things there and combining it all together and directing you into a spot where you can find a lot of fortune. That's kind of the short definition of it. But I'm gonna talk a little bit more about it, and then I'm gonna bring up your chart again and kind of explain, um, and also help people kind of decipher how they can get their part of fortune as well in their chart. So in general, this is a mathematical point in the sky, and it's equated by intersecting lines of a person's sun, moon, and rising. So that's really like the big three. That's what people are talking about: sun, moon, and rising. This is an extension of that. And so if people are really fascinated by like the big three in general, the sun, moon, and rising, looking to the part of fortune can like help as well, kind of guide people into, like good, like luck, like where worldly success lies. So it represents where you're lucky and where your worldly success lies. So when someone is expressing themselves in the lens of their sun sign and then leaning into their moon sign where they feel emotionally and physically held, and then also falling in the direction of their rising sign, which sometimes can be out of their comfort zone, you're heading towards your part of fortune. It's natural implementation in our lives, and it the part of fortune is increased when it's conjunct certain planets. So, like, if the part of fortune is nearby the planet of Venus or Jupiter, those are beneficial planets. These are planets that are a lot of the time supporting, and they're kind of like the good planets that kind of help boost love or fortune, prosperity, you name it. But also, if your part of fortune is in a sign like Taurus and Libra or Sagittarius and Pisces, and the reason for that is Taurus and Libra rule the planet Venus, and Sagittarius and Pisces rule the planet Jupiter. So if you have any of these, it's accentuated, which Kiana, you have a part of fortune in Taurus, so your part of fortune is accentuated, and so that's why I felt like it was a good idea to bring you on today to talk about the part of fortune. So I'm going to talk about your part of fortune in a minute, but for people listening and that would maybe want to like learn about their part of fortune, and maybe it's not on your chart, if it's not calculated on your chart, if you don't see a circle with an X in it, then it's not on your chart, but you can actually calculate it And it's
Wow.
yeah, it's just doing math, and I can give the equation here, but you're going to be using, first of all, you're going to be using the whole sign system or the equal house sign system, where each, which what this means, and it's not actually how I calculate a chart. I use the Placidus, but just to get the part of fortune, you could do this, where each sign in the zodiac, there's 12 signs in the zodiac, there's 12 houses. So you would then assign each house, each sign 30 degrees. And so you would get a circle, 360 degrees. But you would start out the wheel where it begins at Aries, which is actually when the zodiac begins. So if you know anything about astrology, the zodiac starts with Aries and ends with Pisces. So really quickly, I'm going to just share this write up to kind of give people a visual. But it says, you want to calculate by using 30 degrees for each sign, 360 degrees at the end. But basically, how it would go is that Aries would begin at 0 degrees, then Taurus is at 30, Gemini, Cancer, and so on. And then Pisces will begin at 330 degrees, ending at 360. So we'll get to a full circle with all 12 of these, dividing each of them into 30 degrees. Now, this then requires you to do this equation. And if you know anything about the houses and where, they are divided, so there's 1 through 6 at the bottom of the chart, and then there's 7 through 12. So if, let's say, the symbol of the sun, which is that circle that I showed earlier with a dot in between, and then let's say it's in the top half of your chart. So you would know that the top half is the houses 7 through 12, the bottom half is the houses 1 through 6. So if your sun sign, that symbol with it's a circle with a dot in between the circle, is living in houses 7 through 12, then that means that you have a day chart, that you were born during the day. And Kiana, you were born during the day, right?
Mm-hmm.
What time were you born?
4:03
4:03.
p.m.
So she's right before the sunset. So yes, the sun is still out. So she's going
Yeah.
to be her sun sign is going to be located in 7 through 12, and it is. And so the equation that I use, my system that I use to pull charts, it already pulls the part of fortune, but I did this equation just to see if it would work. And so the equation I used was, I took the ascendant plus the moon minus the sun. So really quickly, this is the equation that I did for Kiana: ascendant plus moon minus the sun. She has a sun in the 8th house. That's obviously in the houses 7 through 12. So her sun is at 4 degrees Virgo. So I went up here, and I got 150 degrees is where Virgo starts. So 150 degrees plus 4 degrees would get me at 154. So that's her sun. And then I calculated the ascendant and the moon. So both of her ascendant and moon sign are beginning at Capricorn, so 270. But her ascendant begins at 8 degrees of Capricorn, so I had to add 8 there. And then her moon sign is 17 degrees, so I did 270 plus 17, and I get 287. So when I add these two together, I get 411, and I'm outside of the 360 degrees. So I knew that I had to minus third or 360, and I get 51 degrees. So if I look up here, between 30 and 60 degrees, that's where Taurus lays. So that's getting a part of fortune for Taurus. So anyway, so I said Taurus begins at 30, and then Kiana's part of fortune is at 21 degrees. And when you look at your chart, which I'm going to do right now, So with here, like I get 21 degrees, and it's hard to kind of explain, but basically, like I knew that it was going to be Taurus, and then because we got 51 at um at the end of the equation, I have to almost pull it up again, but okay, so since we got 51, we went up to this chart and we realized that 51 is between 30 and 60, but
Mhm.
Taurus actually begins at 30. So what I did was then I did 51 minus 30 and I got 21. That got me directly at her part of fortune. So that is the equation. It's a little out there and it requires a little bit of like time to kind of go through everything, but if you wanted to do this and you're a nighttime chart, I'm going to really briefly just show how you would do this. And it would
Yes.
be nighttime would be your sun would fall in through 1 through 6. The equation would be ascendant plus sun minus the moon, where the difference up here on the day chart is ascendant plus moon minus sun. So that's
Mhm.
the main difference. Obviously, you can find this by Googling it, but I wanted to see if it worked. I had never done it before and it worked. But your part of fortune is exactly the with the equation, but also with the software. So that was cool
Oh,
to see.
yeah.
I've never tried it, but basically what I wanted to get further into, like the meaning behind a part of fortune in Taurus. So this is what I found to be interesting because you posted this yesterday about how you just got licensed in Texas, right?
Yes.
And in your words, you put that, this journey like might have taken longer than I expected, but it's just,
Mhm.
putting your mind and really going after something that you really enjoy is like worth the wait. That was kind of the message behind your post.
Yes.
And so when I was researching part of fortune in Taurus, what I found was that a person with a part of fortune in Taurus excels and finds joy or fortune in pursuits that allow you to apply yourself over time and that require methodical, stable, and reliable effort.
Mhm.
You love things that last, and you would rather put effort into something that can withstand the test of time or that brings steady, secure returns rather than flashy ventures, which is kind of like what we've kind of uncovered here today, that over the course of 9 years, you've been able to do this. So most
Mhm.
people are thinking that's a long time. I mean, myself thinking to take 9 years to become what you want to be, that's a long time for some people. But obviously that is something that you really cherish and
Yeah.
yeah.
It's something that resonates, yeah, with me completely in all aspects, not even career, but also I would look at even relationships and things like that. Wow.
Also, it says that pursuits that involve natural, tactical, robust, or earthy can be the most rewarding for you,
Mhm.
which is obviously true. Like you're working with natural remedies, you're working with
Yeah.
obviously the body, which has an earthly plane to it. Like being in the body is something that I think a lot of earth signs like can feel really good at, and they feel like very grateful for, where someone with not a lot of earth could feel maybe uncomfortable in the body, but like you having all this earth energy, I think it's so easy. I think even in general, when I would come to you for acupuncture, and I had used other acupuncturists in the past, and I had
Mhm.
explained the same thing to them. It was like you found the spots like right away. It was like very natural and quick for you to find and to locate what I was explaining, the where the pain was. And I was
Yeah.
like, wow, this is great because like it's taken some acupuncturists 1 to 2 to 3 times to find this. and with you, you found it right away, and I was like, "That's really good." Like, I wanna
Thank
keep coming back to
you.
this person. But in general, like, it also says a part of fortune with Taurus industries surrounding, like, biology and comfort might draw you in, and
Uh-huh.
so, in general, like, I think that you enjoy also, like, the aspect of listening to your clients and them being like, "Oh, that felt really good," or
Mhm.
etcetera.
Yes. Wow, this is so insightful. You're so skilled. And I appreciate you being so personable and taking the time to explain everything.
Of course, and, like,
Uh,
one other thing it says just to look, the part of fortune, I really briefly talked about this, but the part of fortune, since yours is ruled by Taurus, it says to look for the planet that, is coordinated with Taurus, and that would be Venus, and your Venus is in the house of, like, one-on-one relationships. So
oh,
having this one-on-one time with people, you're able to, like, really kind of go even further with the part of fortune, and I don't know if, like, I don't know, like, in physical therapy, like, do you is it the same one-on-one thing, or are you around, like, a lot of different groups of people? Because from what I know with like, what you were about to go down to what you do now,
mhm.
I feel like I've seen physical therapists be around a lot of people at once. Is that true, or am I just, like, making that up?
From my experience, especially when I worked in the orthopedic physical therapy clinic, you were surrounded by other physical therapists and
Okay,
their patients as well. There
okay,
was like no curtain, like everyone was in the same room.
okay, that's
People
what
were
I thought.
exercising one area, stretching, icing. Yeah.
Okay. Whereas acupuncture, it's so, like, intimate, it's quiet,
Yeah.
all that stuff. So, yes. Um, well, I'm glad that it's resonating, but also I feel like the more I look at your chart, the more the astrology, like, comes alive, and, like, it's really awesome that you're doing what you're doing, because I think that you're extreme, like you're saying, I'm skilled, but I feel like you're extremely skilled with
Aw.
acupuncture. I'm so happy that I met you. Like, you really did help me in so many ways that, like, I don't have that pain anymore. Like, we worked
Great.
on other areas. So
Yeah.
I want to know what are you doing now? Um, and, like, you're trying to seek a new career in Houston. I guess just elaborate a little bit more on that would be great, because I
Yeah.
like, maybe if people are listening or in the Texas or Houston area, maybe where they can find you or where you're looking to go.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. So, right now, I'm searching for a healing home here in Houston, a healing space that aligns with my values as a practitioner. I'm looking for a place that's more one on one, more of one patient, 1 to 2 patients an hour sort of treatment type of deal, something that's affordable and accessible to everyone as well. So that's the process I'm in now, but I have some major updates coming. So
Ooh,
stay
good.
tuned. Yeah,
No way,
stay
that's
tuned to that.
awesome.
Yeah, it's good. Good news. Good news. I
I'm s
found
it
a place that really aligns with me and my values. So I can't wait to share that with everyone coming up soon.
That's so fun, because it's like we've, kind of, like, gone back and forth about doing this, and I've wanted, an acupuncturist to come on for a long time, because I feel like I discovered it, and it really has changed, like, my whole outlook. Like, if I'm having some pain, like, I feel like I have a plan of, like, what to do. I, like, can go to an acupuncturist. I've
Yeah.
tried chiropractor as well, but I interact with a lot of people that are like, "Oh, like, my neck is hurting, my back is hurting, my knee is hurting," and I'm like, "Well, why don't, you go see an acupuncturist?" And they're kind of like, "I don't know." But in general, going back to the point I was trying to make, it was like we were going back and forth, but it's fun that you're coming on here now, that all these changes where you just got, you certified it, certified, sorry, like yesterday, or you got the news that you were certified, and now you have
Yeah.
more news. So it's kind of fun that you're here when all these changes are happening. That's
For
really
sure.
cool.
Yeah, it's the fortune.
Yeah, part of
Yeah.
the fortune, yes. That's so cool. And you touched really quickly on like the values, but when you are interacting with people, how do you want others to feel when you are interacting with them as their acupuncturist? Like, what are some of the feelings that you want to bring to your patients?
Yes, and as an acupuncturist or practitioner, through my interactions with patients, I want them to feel heard and listened to. I want their concerns to be addressed as well. I want them to know that they have someone there to help guide in their healing, but under the realization that their body and efforts will help heal themselves as well.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's almost like you're giving confidence that hey, I'm here to help. But at the
Mm-hmm.
end of the day, like, I want you to get it to a spot where, we don't need to like keep coming back to this. We want it
Yeah.
to heal, and we want the natural ability of the body to heal.
Yes, correct.
And I think that's why we align so well, because when I do astrology sessions for people, you know,
Mm-hmm.
if they want to come to me for maybe a couple different sessions, I'm okay with that. But at the end of the day, I don't want them to come back to me forever and ever. I want them to, take what they've learned and
Yeah.
blossomed and go to the next level of their life with what they've learned through astrology. And I'm really just a guide that's interpreting things that I see, and then I feel like I could highlight things that maybe jump out to me. So finding a healer like you was really like helped me so much, because I was like, this person doesn't look at me like a cash cow. They're here to like
Mhm.
help me. And
Absolutely.
they understand, like, I kind of knew that like it was going to take time, so I was willing to put in that effort, time and money. But I felt like each session we just really kind of made so much progress that it
Mhm.
with each little progress it was worth it to come back for that next appointment and to
Correct.
see where we could get even further. And it was like just things that I feel like it was like, like healing that you just wouldn't believe, like, unless you
Mhm.
tried it. So
Yeah.
I guess before we jump off, I want to I want to ask you, what do you do with people that maybe come to you and they're curious, but you can tell that they're apprehensive. They have those, oh my God, well, you're using needles, and like, how does that go? And like, is that clean? And like, should I be worried that like maybe you would pinch like this nerve? I feel like I've heard, and I'm not an acupuncturist, so I can't
Uh,
answer it. So now that I have you on this call, I feel like it would be great if you could just maybe speak to people that I feel like are curious about it, but they just haven't really like
yeah. And you're right. There are plenty
taken a
of
leap
patients.
of faith, you know?
Yes, exactly. There are patients who are a bit weary or even a bit nervous or scared. And when I have a patient coming in who presents in that particular way, it's all about taking your time and being patient, making sure I explain everything first before I go move
Yeah,
on to the action. And I always like to explain what acupuncture is, how it works, maybe some common sensations or therapeutic sensations they may feel, like a dull ache or heaviness, maybe a pulsator throbbing, and explain to them that's all okay. And then I go into saying things like, and you let me know if anything is ever too strong or uncomfortable, to make
right,
them feel it's a safe space for us to talk and to express how we're feeling. Because I don't ever want to put a patient into a situation they don't want to be in. I want them to listen to themselves and then interact and tell me how they are feeling. And I think it's important for us as practitioners of all types of medicine to give our patients that, because every patient deserves that, not just some. We all deserve that type of respect and humanity, right?
Oh, that is just like, oh,
True.
I just want to give you a hug because
Yeah.
we need more people like you. And just in general, you're just an amazing person. Like it was just
Oh,
such a joy to meet you and connect with you. I'm so glad that we are staying connected. But that thing that you just said, that you talk a lot about patience and being patient with people and
mhm.
not like really pushing them in a situation. And
Yeah.
that is definitely translates to someone that has a lot of earth energy, being patient. Capricorn is a patient sign. It's about, putting that work in every day until you see like this like, grand result. But it takes
Mhm.
chipping away every day and being patient. So I just feel like you're kind of living your chart, but in general, like it's just you've picked the right path and like it's just to me it's I'm excited to see what you do and I want to stay
Well,
connected. Yeah,
yes, absolutely. We absolutely will.
good because
Yeah.
it's just like I feel like some of the things that you just said at the end, like it just reminds me that there are other healers out there like you, because I
Mhm.
think that, if anybody's listening, and maybe has had like a traumatic experience with a doctor in the Western medicine, whatever it had be, I've been there before. I know how it feels. It can be traumatizing. It can be
Yeah.
scary to go back to the doctor because maybe you were pushed in a position where you felt like you couldn't advocate for yourself. They were steamrolling you with all this medical jargon that you really weren't following, and you're just like in the doctor's office, and you're like, "Wait a minute, what did I just sign myself up for?" Like, and it's just really nice to hear you say the words that like every patient deserves to have that humanity aspect when they're getting taken care of. I mean,
Mhm.
that's at the end of the day, we should be feeling like we're showing up to be taken care of. There should be no anxiety or stress around that because it's our time to be taken care of by someone else.
Yes, it's our right to be respected when it comes to our health and our medical care. It's our right.
It
Absolutely.
totally is. It totally is. So, Kiana, how do people stay in touch with you if maybe you post on social media?
Oh
Um,
yeah.
Could you share
So
your handle with us?
yes, absolutely. I'll make sure to share that handle, Kiana underscore Smith underscore Acu on Instagram. Please catch up with me there because I'll be updating on where I'm practicing, the times, the days that you can come in for an appointment with me.
Okay, cool. So it's at Kiana underscore Smith underscore ACU.
Correct, yes.
Oh my God. Well, that is so great. I'm so happy for what you found and congratulations. I'm going to look out
Thank
for the
you.
update. So, yes. And thank you again for joining me. It was the perfect timing.
Oh, great. And thank you, Kenzie, for your patience and for the opportunity as well. I'm so glad I've gotten to know you, and it's
Me
only
too.
going to go further from there.
I
I
think,
really appreciate you giving me the space and time. I
of
really
course,
do.
you deserve it. You
And
deserve
I learned so much. This is so fascinating. I
Well,
learned
yeah.
so much from my chart, and I can't wait to share it with my friends and family
Yes.
too.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm gonna put the replay on YouTube so you can replay it back.
great.
It's like a good thing to know, and it's like something I think it's fun for people to kind of go back to things in their chart to get excited about themselves. I mean, that's what
Yeah,
astrology is supposed to do. It's meant to empower you and for you to keep going. And obviously, you should keep going in the direction that you're going in because you've picked the right path, girl.
yes, yes. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, Kiana, it was great to talk with you, and I hope you have a great rest of the day and summer. And I'm looking forward to that announcement.
You as well, and everyone stay hydrated, stay cool, enjoy the rest of your summer, stay safe.
All right. Well, thank you.
Yes, thank you. You take
Bye.
care.